Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, yes, we have him here, people. Andy Larocque, a guitarist, producer, co-writer of King Diamond. What's going on in Sweden, Andy?
Oh man, it's getting cold here, but still, working with metal in the studio right now, and working with a few different bands actually in the studio, together with some King Diamond stuff. We're going to release this King Diamond DVD next year, and we're still working on that. There's a lot of files to go through, a lot of scenes, and angles and stuff, of the shows that we're going to release. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do, actually.
We'll talk about the DVD in a second, but tell me, a lot of people know you're a producer, and a lot of people don't know that you're a producer. So just tell everybody, about your studio, about the bands you've produced, not all the bands, but just a few highlighted bands.
Sure. Well, I started my studio back in the 90s, early 90s, because I want to have a proper way of presenting my song ideas to the other guys in the band, So it started out with like a 4-track recorder, and then 8-track recorder, then a 24-track machine, and I built it up from there. And I had it running as a professional studio since 1995, actually, where I produced, hundreds, maybe thousands of bands, And some of the last bands I produced here in the studio was actually a Swedish band, Shining, and Japanese band called Belfast. And I'm actually in the middle of working with Neil Turbin, Neil Turbin's Death Riders, and mixing the album. And at the same time, I'm working with a Norwegian band, mixing their stuff too. It's a Norwegian band with no name actually right now, but it's going to be their debut album. And also working on some King Diamond stuff. So a lot of work to do here.
And just to toss a few more names out there, Falconer, which a lot of people know, and Evergrey, a very big band, globally.
The first maybe 3 albums with Evergrey, and King of Asgard, and Kill Ritual, Bay Area band, San Francisco based, and bands actually all over the world.
So Neil Turbin, I know we're not going to talk too much about Neil because I don't want to give away all his secrets. You're working on his album. How is this new album, Neil Turbin Death Riders? How's the album coming out sound-wise? I mean, is it blowing your mind? Because I've heard a couple of tracks. Neil has played.
Yeah, you did after the mix or before the mix?
Before the mix, like the raw demos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they tried a few different studios, I believe, and different mixers, but it wasn't really what they were after. So they asked me to do it, and I mixed one song and sent it back, and they were like, "Wow, this is exactly how we want it to sound." So, well, I'm happy with it, and they are happy with it, and I was actually surprised because it was more melodic than I thought it would be, and just the quality of everything recorded was really good.
Yeah.
So that together with, a good mix where you can actually hear everything and mix it in the right style, that I think turned out really, really good. I'm happy with it.
Neil's voice, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got a great voice, and all the other musicians in the band are really, really good too. So that's a really good combination.
And you share a drummer, Matt Thompson, right, from King Diamond.
Yes. He also did a great job, and the songs in general are really good.
Okay, the DVD. Okay. When's it gonna come out, this live DVD?
I can't really say too much about it because sure. I am not the only guy in charge here. I mean, we got the video producer, and I'm working with other stuff once in a while. But as soon as I get a chance, I'm working on this and get the right mix. And we also have our live engineer in charge, who's been, setting everything up to get the real live feel of everything, And then I've been working on some details there, and video producer sent me some files we have to check out, make sure everything is in sync, back and forth, and we're still working on it, But I see the light in the tunnel kind of thing, because we're getting close with the first show, which is going to be from Philly. So we're getting close there with that one, and then we have a few other things to go through, and I mean, the only thing we can do is like work on it until it gets good, you know, because this is our first DVD ever released, and we want to have it good. I mean, we want it to be, you know, representable for what we're doing.
Is there going to be like really old school footage, like back into the Abigail years, the real Abigail years? Is going to be like a lot of old stuff in there?
No, well, we're not going to use any of that. You know, we're going to use from the last year's live shows.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
And there's going to be some side footage too, I believe, but I'm not sure exactly what. But mainly from live shows, from the Abigail
Yes.
performances we did the last couple of years.
Do you have like a date, 2019, 2018? Like when do you think it's going to be released?
I hope it's going to be released next spring.
Okay, all right, good.
If everything goes the way we want it next spring, yeah.
All right, good. So let's just jump into the past now, okay? How did you get the gig with King Diamond? So Mercyful Fate breaks up, Hank Sherman goes off and forms Fate, King Diamond, Michael Danner, Timmy Hansen, you know, and then they hire you. How did that connection all happen?
Oh man, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it short.
Please.
Okay, back in like 83, 84, me and Mickey D played in the same band in Gothenburg, Sweden for a short while, and we knew each other for a couple of years before that also. But he moved down to Denmark with Pete Black and started a band there, and he hung out with the Mercyful Fate guys. And then when they decided to go on with King Diamond, Mickey was there, and you know, he started with that band, and they wrote songs and went into the studio with another guitarist that they all thought didn't really work out the way they thought it would do. And Mickey called me when they were about a week and a half or maybe 2 weeks into the studio. Mm-hmm. So all the rhythm guitars and drums were recorded, and Mickey called me, said, yeah, you got to come down here, you know, I really trust you, you got to fix this, you know, and all that, you know. So the day after, I went down there with Marshall amp and one of my guitars down to Copenhagen, and said hi to the band, and they asked me to do like an audition with some of the already recorded songs. Did a few solo versions of the solo in a song called Dressed in White of the first album, Fatal Portrait. And, you know, they listened to it, and after a while, you know, the same afternoon, they said, you're welcome in the band.
Wow. So, I mean, that
was a big step. I was only like 22 years old, you know. So like, wow, cool, man.
Did you ever think to yourself, this is a most amazing experience? What's up with all the satanic stuff?
You know, I asked Mickey about that before I went down there, you know. Okay, what's the deal here, you know? And he was like, oh man, the rehearsal room is like painted black and skulls everywhere, you know, and bones and, you know, inverted crosses and everything, you know. So like, wow, man, that's kind of scary, you know. But I went down, and I mean, it wasn't really like that, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story.
No, that was cool. I mean, that was of course a really, really great experience for me. I mean, young guy from Sweden coming down there to do an audition with them, you know, and it turned out good, you know. And I said to myself, I really have to do this, you know, before I went down there. I really have to do this because I feel, just, you know, this might be the chance of my life. When
you were in the band, the Fatal Portrait, so you didn't really record much, or you did record a lot of the album. You didn't contribute yet because you're new to the band, right?
Exactly. No songs from my side, but solos, of course, you know, from my side.
Okay, great. I mean, amazing solos, especially Dressed in White. Incredible. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I mean, I could see, like, you really brought, there was the Mercyful Fate sound, right? But then the King Diamond sound was something different, a little more neoclassical, perhaps. I don't know if that's what the right word is.
I totally agree. And that's, you know, I didn't really know what to expect when I came down to Copenhagen that day. And until I heard the songs, was like, wow, this is really cool, you know, because it was quite different from Mercyful Fate. Was a more modern touch, you know, the songs and also the sound, of course, you know, was a more modern touch. And working with Roberto Falcao, the producer we had at that time. He was he made it sound, more modern, I believe.
So now you start contributing. Abigail, did you? You're in the studio, you're recording this album, you're contributing, right, as a songwriter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you think that, like you're talking about, like 30 something years later, this album is like, probably I don't know about the highlight, but we could say one of the best or most memorable albums by King Diamond globally, right? Did you think this album would be so big today?
Not really. I mean, you don't really reflect over that, when you're in the studio right there at that time, but we really had a good, feeling about the album, and it was a very strong unit, as a band recording that album. We came back home from the first U.S. tour back in '86 and started rehearse the songs, and wow, this is going to be good. And the studio session itself was really, really creative, and we created a really good atmosphere around that whole album, But so I think maybe that's a part of why it got so successful, for such a long time. And I mean, 30 years after, it's like still one of our strongest albums, It's probably because we just captured a really, really good feel and atmosphere and creativity.
So then, I mean, any memories of recording? This is like a big album, another big album by King Diamond. But this time, Michael Denner and Timmy Hansen, why did they part ways? Was it before, during, after? I mean, you had such a great unit. What happened?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit too intense. Those years were actually really intense, because back in '87 we were doing, we released the Abigail album, and then we went on a massive tour, probably one of the longest King Diamond tours ever. It started in the summertime in the U.S., and after the U.S. tour, somewhere in September, I believe, when that ended, we just shipped over the equipment, and we started for a European tour. So it was really, really intense. And between that, we wrote songs for them album and rehearsed and all that, So it's like, wow. So before that Abigail tour in the States, Michael Denner decided to quit, because we had a few really, really, hectic years before that, So he wanted to cool off a bit, and Tim Hansen, he stayed for another 6 months, on that U.S. tour and the European tour, but after that he quit. And I guess it was just, too hectic, and it was, back then, it was really, really extremely hectic, with the tours and writing albums and recording and all that, so. And Timmy had a family too back then, so we ended up, trying to find a new bass player and a new guitarist, recording them, which took a little while, and then we found Pete Black and the bass player he was playing with, who was Al Patino.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was very intense too. I mean, we just recorded rehearsed a few weeks with them before we started recording the album.
And then, of course, Conspiracy comes along. Was there any sort of like words by the record company? And I guess because it's a smaller label, it wasn't a major label. I think it was Roadrunner, right? Was there any sort of like, guys, we need a hit here. We need something. Was there anything like that ever?
That's exactly what happened.
They asked you for a hit. Come on, guys, let's have a hit. And I know King's not, Mr. Hit either, right? He's not going to...
Yeah, exactly.
He's not Mr.
Well, not exactly a hit, but they actually called in a producer. They were talking about maybe hiring a producer into the studio. And we talked to a few different guys, actually, back then. And we met, for example, Eddie Kramer.
Yes, of course.
Classic, and... he was busy doing other things, but he came down to meet us and everything, but he was really busy doing other things, so he wasn't available. And then we talked to Chris Tangarides, which recorded later that year Painkiller with Judas Priest, and he did some Black Sabbath stuff, Thin Lizzy, Gary Moore, and all kinds of stuff, you know. So we worked with him on the Conspiracy album. There's nothing you can change, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is how we want to sound, because this is King Diamond, you know. We wouldn't want to change any of our style or try to make it sound softer or, you know, more commercial, whatever, you know. I mean, we just did our thing, you know, and at the end, you know, I guess he accepted that, you know, and just worked out the best out of that.
My friend Khalil wanted to ask, like, how do you think the music has evolved, like, from, you know, the first album to, I guess, to 2007? How has that music evolution evolved over the years?
I think for a while, you know, it was really, really progressive. Like on the Dem album, for example, it was a lot of crazy stuff, you know. And if you go back and check, for example, Fatal Portrait, it was more like a straight feel to it.
Yeah.
Which I am a fan of, you know. I don't think you should complicate things too much. But I mean, we showed that we can also do that, you know. If you look back now and see, as I said, you know, we had a really progressive period with them and maybe Conspiracy also, you know. But then slowly going back to the a little bit more straight kind of style, you know.
Which was The Eye,
I think is great.
The Eye.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Which is a beautifully produced album.
Yeah, has a few, you know, progressive elements too, you know. I think it's actually more relaxed now. You don't, it's not as, you know, busy as it was on a few albums, and I think it's more a matter of, you know, getting the right atmosphere of the songs and the right feel, you know, and all that, instead of just writing a lot of progressive riffs.
So the critically acclaimed Eye album comes out, which is incredible, and then you go through this grunge era. I remember this, you know. Look, I've been a fan for Mercyful Fate from the first album, and I've been following King throughout the whole time. You know, you have the Spider's Lullaby, the Graveyard, and Voodoo, and House of God, and Abigail too. This whole 90s where metal wasn't fashionable. I mean, what was it? Was King Diamond following still there? Was it, you know, everybody's questioning stuff? What was going on in the grunge era for King Diamond?
Well, you know, the last album in the first era, as we say, you know, after we recorded The Eye, the grunge came and we were out of contract for a while. That was between end of 1990 until 1994, I believe.
Yep.
We did a new record deal, and you know, we had like almost 4 years where we did do nothing with King Diamond, except for we wrote a few new songs. And back in '94, we started to record the Spider's Lullaby.
Yeah.
With a few new musicians. King moved to the U.S., he moved to Texas, and we found a new studio, new producer, and everything was like totally new, you know. A new style of music also in a certain way, and it turned out to be Spider's Lullaby. It was a few years back there, you know, but I think that the most worrying part was actually the 4 years when we did do nothing.
Yeah.
But then you kind of slowly notice that, okay, metal is not dead. It's still there, you know, it's growing back, you know, slowly, but still, you know. And then after, you know, when we did Graveyard and Voodoo and all that, you know, we knew that this is coming back, you know, so.
And of course, the Grammy nominated. You are Grammy nominated, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, Grammy. I mean, how do you feel? Okay, King Diamond, Grammy nominated. I mean, where did this come from?
Yeah, I thought it was great, man. I still got that hanging on my wall. You know, I think it was a really good thing. You know, and
back in 2007,
that was back in 2007, exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great thing because King had back problems at that time. That was after we had mixed years old. We mixed that, and he had some. He got some back problems during the mix of that album, actually. And he had problems for a long time, and he still, you know, had to be cautious about it. You know, take it easy, of course, you know, with his back, you know. But that was really bad for a while there, and so we couldn't tour, you know, and that Grammy thing, you know, was just like, wow, cool. Finally, somebody's like appreciating what we're doing,
Yeah.
you know.
What information can you give us about this new album?
Well, we have some ideas, and we're gonna start, seriously sitting down and start with new riffs and starting to write songs, as soon as possible. So I would say, starting around New Year's, with writing new songs and stuff. That's the only thing I can say. And there will be a new album, of course. It's just that since 2012, we've been really busy doing the live shows, which has been really important for us. Since before 2012, we didn't really do any festivals at all. I mean, maybe one or two in our whole career. So that was just a new thing for us, doing festivals. And we've been really busy doing that. I mean, I just got back from Chile just about a week ago, where we did a festival with Megadeth, And of course, planning that and practicing, rehearsing for all those shows we did in the last 5-6 years has taken a lot of time, of course. So we really haven't had time to sit down and just make a good album, Plus all the other things we've been doing with like remasters and now, the DVD and all that stuff. So as soon as things get, less hectic, we're going to start writing a new album.
Do you think the direction is, first of all, is it going to be a concept album? I'm not asking what concept, but is it going to be a concept album like usual?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be, yes.
Is it going to be straightforward like you said, or is it going to be like super progressive like them so far? What vibe are you getting?
I don't really know yet, because we don't really have the songs yet. Whatever, comes to mind, I believe, it's probably going to be a good mix of everything, Probably, I would say, a classic, King Diamond album with a good sound.
Are you producing it?
Partly me and King, yes, and then we'll see, what's happening, depending on what way we're going to go with it, But King's got his own home studio set up, so he's going to record all the vocals back home in his cellar.
Sure.
Black and dark, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of spiders and bones and skulls.
Yeah, okay. So you're looking at 2019, I guess, for a release.
What's that? One more time?
2019 as an album release. It's still a ways you're far away.
It's really hard to say. I mean, we have to write the songs first and record everything and take it from there. I don't really know. I can't say anything about that. Whenever it's done, it's going to be released. It's really hard to say.
So that's pretty
but
much
we got some great ideas for it. That's all I can say right now.
Is there anything else you want to add about your studio, your producing? Is anything else exciting happening?
I'm really glad I'm busy. I know that a lot of studios having problems with getting clients into the studio and stuff. But so far, I've been really blessed with that. I have a lot of things doing. But there are still available studio time if any of you guys want to come here or record or mix or whatever. I'm working with another guy here in the studio now that's helping me out. When I'm getting really busy, it's a great guy called Marcus, which is really helping out. When stuff gets too hectic.
Thank you for your time, Andy. We will talk soon.